No, my wife is going to try to do that as hopefully before I start. So
yeah, my wife is not here, so I just did mine.
Okay, you did it. Okay. Okay.
Hey everyone. See that people are getting in now. Thank you for joining us. Thomas, did you launch the stream on YouTube too?
Yes, we are live. So welcome to everybody on YouTube as well, and joining here on Zoom.
Thank you so much. Where is everyone joining from? Can you let us know in the chat a little bit? Oh, we changed to.
That's fine. I can reshare again later, but just wanted to say hi to people.
Good. All right, let's wait a minute for everyone. People from Austin. Derek is from Austin. We're here in New York. I know I'm in New York too. Nick is in New York too. New Jersey. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Really excited for today. I think we're gonna go deep into Push, so that's exciting. I know that we have 3 experts here. They're gonna each take their own approach, more instructional, more performance. So excited to see what you guys have in store. A little bit about us. So we're 343 Labs. I think probably most of the people here have already heard about us before. Music production school with locations in New York and Berlin. And obviously this year we've done a lot of online stuff. We also have a daily stream called 343 TV that we do every one at 1 p.m. EST, where our teachers touch on different topics. And on the weekends, we're also inviting now DJs and producers from around the world to do workshops with us. So that's what we call the 343 Pro sessions. Check them out. Maybe Thomas drop a couple of links there for people. And then finally, we have our Discord too, where we always keep going the conversation about music production and within the community. We also have still doing online classes, waiting a little bit to open our in-person school. Hopefully soon we'll all be able to get together for some of these community events, either at the school or as we've done sometimes with Nick at Splice too, which that's something that we used to love doing. So Thomas, I don't know if you want to share just a little bit about the classes that we have starting for people, and then I'll leave it.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, Nacho's telling you all about the different programs we have, but for the community here tonight that are Ableton users, what's most relevant to you is probably our Ableton 12-session courses. We offer, an intro level course called Produce Your First Track, which is really great. Students love it, especially people who are, completely new to music production or maybe kind of just getting started with it. And then we have more advanced courses like our intermediate level Ableton class, which Claire and our wonderful other instructors, who are streaming on YouTube, are teaching these courses. And then, we have a little more advanced courses for anybody who's not particularly looking to study Ableton, but maybe some other topics. But what we have coming up for you guys is an Ableton beginner course starting next Tuesday. And it's going to be meeting Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 7:15 to 9 p.m. So I'll drop the link for that one, as well as the intermediate course, which will be starting just a couple weeks later, down in the chat here on Zoom as well on YouTube. And if you guys have any questions, just feel free to shoot us a message here, or you can reach us on email, and we're more than happy to help you out. But before we proceed, I did want to make one really kind of exciting announcement about the event. And before I'll let kind of Nacho hand it off to Claire, we do have a kind of a special prize or surprise for all the participants tonight. Ableton has granted us 30% discounts for the Push controller. So we're actually going to be giving those out throughout the event. A few of them will be here on Zoom, and then the rest will be going to YouTube. So look out for details on how to kind of get your hands on that potentially by the end of the stream.
Thank you, Thomas.
Back to Nacho.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to quickly introduce Claire. Claire has been instrumental to the growth of 343, and she's a great friend. She's been an amazing producer, Ableton certified trainer, everything certified. I think she is actually.
Oh no.
So she's going to be the one kicking it off. So Claire, I think I'm gonna leave it to you. Thank you so much again for being here tonight.
No, thank you so much for the intro, Nacho. That was very kind. And thanks, Thomas, for also running everything behind the scenes. Great to see everyone. I'm also on the YouTube page-ish thing that we're having over there. So great to see the folks in the chat over there too. My name's Claire. I also go by dolltr as an artist. But yeah, like Nacho said, I'm an instructor at 343 Labs and an Ableton certified trainer too. And I just want to say that I'm very excited about tonight because it's not often that we get to only talk about Push, but I love Push so much. It's one of my favorite products of all time. I think that Ableton has made as a company, or maybe even like most people have thought of as controllers. Oftentimes I do think of it as, I guess if I had to choose, I would bring it with me as my one controller if I needed to, just because there's so many wonderful things that you can do with it. And Derek and Nick, I'm sure are going to share like awesome stuff too. So I'm really excited for those as well. But oftentimes for a lot of my personal performances that I do under my artist project dolltr, I use Push for a number of processes involving vocals. So that's what I'm going to cover a little bit of today. I'm going to speak about vocal processing things that I do with Push, maybe also show you a couple of things having to do with playing Push. But I just thought it would be cool to start off by even showing you maybe a little bit of a video. It gets really weird on Zoom just because it's hard to, I guess, navigate all the strange latency, but we'll try our best. I'm going to share with you a clip, or a series of clips rather, from a series that I did in Beattober, thanks to our creative director at 343 Labs, Tetro, who's also a wonderful friend and producer. So he spearheaded this quote unquote movement, if you will, that's called Beattober, where you would make a beat every day. So seeing that, I participated in support of him, but also just because it was fun to do it. And I spent every day, so all 31 days of the month of October, making something on Push. And that's what I'm going to show you a little bit of today. I'll just show you a snippet of a couple of the days that I spent on Push and doing a little bit of vocal stuff. As you can see, I've got a mic over here and Push tilted at a bit of an intense angle, but so that we can see all the stuff that's going on. So here's a snippet of Beattober from last year. Goes on again. Like I said, I did it for like 31 days and it was really intense, but it also helped me get to know Push like even better than I knew it. And I'm a big fan of using Push, like I mentioned, but oftentimes for vocals, you saw me do a bunch of things already, but I love using, for example, the knobs for processing. You also heard a little bit of vocoding that was going on, so I'll show you a bit of my routing for that too. And things like vocal chops and how we can use Push as a way to get started with those. So at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and share my live set that I prepared with y'all. So it should be over here. Great. And I'm just going to give this a couple of moments because I know sometimes it takes a while to see stuff. But yeah, welcome to everyone in the chat. I just saw a couple of new people join in, so thank you for joining us. This is a live set that I kind of prepped a little bit to show you some of the specific things that I do when I'm preparing for a performance, and it contains excerpts of one of my original tunes that I'm working on that's called Language. But let's take a look at a couple of the things going on over here. And since I was just talking about vocoders, let's just start off with those. So one thing I love doing with Push is playing Push like an instrument, really, upwards with some kinds of scales. For this, I'm also going to switch my camera over. So let's go ahead and get this switched over. So you should kind of see my Push setup right now. Yeah, Push is over here. And I love using Push to play melodically also. For a little bit of context, I was I am a classically trained piano and flute player, and now I do neither of those things, but I kind of do both in a way, or all of the things rather. But I love playing Push in this different sort of layout that doesn't, I guess, usually come super naturally to most folks who look at it. But this is something that we call an isomorphic layout. And at the moment, I have a very bright sort of synth over here. It's kind of like it's actually the default analog patch, I believe. Like if I pull this up over here inside Live, yeah, you can see that I've got analog set up over here. I just have it in some kind of instrument rack. But with this interface, in this layout that's called chromatic fourths, I'm able to play pretty much any note that I would usually be able to play on a piano, except you'll notice that obviously it's not a piano interface. So one of my favorite things to do on Push is to play things like chords. For example, if I play that shape, it's always going to give me some kind of major triad. I could do also like a minor triad. It could also do something like, what else could I do with this? A minor seventh. If I have shapes, and that's one of my favorite parts about just using Push in general, I think, the ability to use shapes instead of necessarily memorizing chords. And that's actually something that, funnily enough, got me into learning guitar. So I learned Push first, and then I learned guitar, which Derek's going to speak about later. So very excited about that too. But yeah, so that's kind of the way that the interface of Push works. You've got, of course, the wonderful LED screen on top, and then you've got this lower section over here that lets you do chords, different kinds of chords that you might have out there. But that's one thing that I have set up over here. Now, what I'm doing specifically with Push is using these notes that I have over here to play a vocoder sound. And that's the second track that you see next to Push over here. So to have this happen, what I'm going to do is solo this track. I'm going to hold down the solo button on Push. On the left-hand side, there is a button that lets you solo things directly from the Push interface without actually touching your computer, which is one of the other parts about Push that I love. So let's go ahead and solo this. And let's head over into session mode on Push and take a listen to what I've got playing over here in my scene. Cool. So we've actually got some kind of vocoder sound. Now let's figure out how I actually did that. We can hear some things happening, maybe even just to take a step back. This is kind of like a very classic sort of sound that you might hear in a lot of electronic music immediately. And it's sad that we're talking about this, but immediately Daft Punk kind of comes to mind. It's such a sad week. I don't know if anyone else knows, but they broke up. Oh yes, I just saw Heinrich put in the Zoom chat. Hi, Heinrich. Daft, yes. I miss them so much already. It's been like 3 days and I already missed them. But yeah, they were one of the people who like inspired me to even like start doing more vocoder related things. So what I'm actually using in this case is Live's native vocoder. I spoke about this at one of the other New York UGs that I presented at, which was a good number of months ago at this stage. But there's a really neat native device in Live that is called Vocoder. That's really meant for vocoding. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily use it off the bat just because of the way that it kind of works. By default, let me just also pull this up over here. If you want to start vocoding, one of the easiest ways to get started with it is to head over into the browser inside Ableton Live. So that's where I am on the left-hand side. And if you click on audio effects, there's a specific category that's called reverb and resonance, starting from Live 11. In Live 10 and earlier versions, you wouldn't necessarily get this, but since Live 11 was out yesterday, we're able to get this now. So it's a device that's called Vocoder. If I just pull this on directly, and if I just drag and drop this over here, so I've got a new vocoder device here, I'm going to turn off the rack that I initially put up, just so that we can hear what happens if you drag a default instance of vocoder here. So let's see what happens. Oh God. No, what's happening? Why does it sound noisy? Let's check this out. It totally doesn't sound like what I had before, right? Before I had a nice sort of vocoder sound that was a little bit more maybe in the line of Daft Punk, like Heinrich said. But now that I have this default setting of vocoder, it sounds like noise. Cool. And that's because over here, the carrier in vocoder over here in this drop-down menu, we've got it set to noise. So the way that I like to think a lot about vocoding, especially on push, when you have a limited number of devices that you can see, is that you really want to focus on what is carrying the sound. So choose what you want your carrier to be. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and turn this instance of Vocoder off, and I'll reactivate the one that I initially had. So this is the one that I already set up for myself in my Vocoder rack that I built. Notice how the carrier is not set to noise, which was the default. Instead, it's set to external, and I'm taking audio from this other track that I have over here, my Vocoder Midi track, which is currently muted. But if I unmute it and if I play it back, we're going to be able to hear specifically what's going on under the hood. So let's go ahead and unsolo the vocoder track, and instead we'll solo this vocoder MIDI track that I'm taking the audio from. So here we go. Cool. So that was actually the sound that I played for everyone at the beginning of my presentation. It was this type of sound, the bright one of analog. But because we start with such a bright sound, we're able to hear it come through in the vocoder sound when we start listening to the vocoder. So that's why we've got this over here. And the way that this is working is I've got some kind of audio up on this particular track. If I switch over onto clip view, in this particular scene that I have, and I select that, you can even see the waveform show up on push. And more importantly, when I do that, we also get the same thing happening inside live. You can now see that I've got the waveform over here. So let's take a listen to what this originally was. I can mute, or I can deactivate rather, turn off the device activator button, and listen to what this vocal just sounded like on its own.
Can't hear the pleas of your anguish, still try undo all the damage, no way to speak to your language. Ay, 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 ay.
So it's actually very badly recorded, which is the great part, because we can't tell when I have a vocoder on it, right? And the way that I've got this set up at the moment. But that was the original sound that I had with my vocoder. I don't necessarily want that yet, because I just want to have a clean vocoder sort of sound. So let's switch back to device view on push. I did that by clicking on this device button at the top right of live over here. And let's reactivate the dolltr vocoder app. So then now I get my vocoder back again. Cool. But now we have the vocoder. And what you saw in a couple of the examples I showed just now is I didn't just have a vocoder going, but I also had a clean vocal come in too. So that's what I'm going to show you right now, kind of how this all comes into play. I've got a full scene here with a bunch of clips, but let's go ahead and unsolo the track that I just soloed. I'm going to stop all clips by launching an empty scene from push. Again, not having to touch my computer. Yay! Good stuff. Don't touch your computer. Don't do that. You can if you want to, but if you're able to do it from push, I find that it's amazing, and it makes you connect even more to the instrument, which I love. So let's go ahead and play these two clips. I've got a clean vocal clip coming in over here in my very first green track. And then I've got my vocoder coming in here on the purple track. So let's launch them together. Here we go.
Can't hear the pleas of your anguish, still try undo all the damage, no way to speak to your language. Ay, 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 ay.
Oh no, we've run into a problem. Do we hear the vocoder or do we not? We don't. And that's actually something I like highlighting a lot of. The vocoder, even though it's an audio effect, it's really crucial that whatever sound source you have is also active. So because of this, I need to be launching this clip too from push. This clip was my chord progression that I did with the big analog type of synth. So if I want the vocoder sound to be big and also to hear everything there, I'm going to want to launch the 3 clips together. So not just the audio clips, but also the MIDI clips with the synth. So let's try this again. Yeah, there we go. You'll notice I did something that was a little bit of like a quick push ninja sort of thing. I held down this button over here that's called mute, and I used it to unmute and mute the track. And that's because if I left this track unmuted, we would be hearing the original bright synthesizer sound too, but I didn't want to hear that. So I made sure to mute it, and it still was able to come through in the vocoder, which is great. Yeah. So now we've got these 2 things going on. What's another thing that I like doing a lot with vocal stuff? It's something that's called live looping. And I think a lot of folks have maybe seen me talk about this before, because I love talking about like vocal looping in general. And I think it just works out really well on Push, because Push has a lot of really awesome functions that let you access things like, being able to arm a track very quickly. And when we say arming, all we mean is that we're preparing a track to be able to record. You can kind of see over here on Push that I've got a couple of these columns that are lit up in pink. And what that means is that any of these little pads that I press on are going to be ready to record some kind of clip into them. And this is how I set up a lot of my vocal looping. For this purpose, I'm also going to scooch over in live and make sure that you see all of the loops. So great, I've got my first track over here all the way on the left. And then I've got 3 tracks of vocal loops. The way that this is done, or the way that I usually like to do it, is that instead of just looping off the bat without necessarily having a reference point for anything, I like always having a clean vocal track. So in this case, it's called womxn, that's taking in a clean sort of vocal. And then I'll have different other tracks over here ready to record the audio from that initial track. So notice how, and this is something that I have to show in live just so we can see it a little more clearly. But notice how I've got all of my 4 tracks over here. I've got womxn, then vox loop 1, vox loop 2, vox loop 3. But for the loop tracks, instead of taking the audio in from an external sound source, such as a microphone, I'm taking the audio from the womxn track. So again, I'm not taking it from an external source. So I'm not singing into, say, a handheld mic or anything, but I'm taking the audio from the track that already has audio incoming to it. So that is the routing technique that I find really useful, just because it's able to kind of bake in also a few of the effects that you might have on the vocal. So for example, over here, in my initial clean vocal, let's take a listen to what I have in this track. I'm going to solo it, and let's take a listen.
Can't hear the pleas of your anguish. Still try undo all the damage. No way to speak to your language.
So it's not very well recorded, but that's okay. I've got a little bit of EQ on it. I got some compression. I got a little bit of spatial effects too. So things like sends and returns are doing reverb and delay. So that's happening as well. I've also got a bunch of other effects that are letting me filter out the vocal in some sort of way. So for example,
can't hear the pleas of your anguish. Still try undo the damage. No way to your language.
So I got a couple of other effects that I built over here in just a random effects rack that I pretty much use on a lot of my tunes. But I love using it on vocals specifically, because then that's going to kind of let you play around with different sorts of textures and almost treat the vocal as not just a singer's voice, but more broadly as an instrument itself, which to be honest is the way that I tend to approach vocals anyway. I usually think of it as like just some kind of thing that you can add to your palette of colors. Although granted, you will write lyrics and stuff like that. I am a writer and a songwriter as well. So I think about that a lot too. But I love being able to use the voice for more interesting kinds of things. For example, if I were to throw, say, a beat repeat onto this, which I do have, might be able to get some interesting mileage out of it. So let's even give that a shot. And let's see if we can maybe use this to our advantage with a couple of these loops that I've got set up here with the routing. So here we go.
Can't hear the play, still.
So interesting captures of the breath. If you capture like specific notes, you would also be able to center that and play with that a little bit too. And you could, with the other loops that have been set up, be able to record something there too. And let me just maybe demonstrate this a little by stopping all the clips. And let's see what mileage we can get out of recording some additional looping textures with these 3 channels or these 3 tracks that I have set up at the moment in live. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. I'm going to unsolo the track. Again, from Push directly, not touching live. Let's play the vocal. Let's see if we can capture some interesting stuff. And then I'm going to start recording material in here. So here we go.
Can't hear the plays of your
Cool. Some fun stuff. Great. So what did I just do? I did something very quickly. I recorded a new audio clip in here, like I said, taking the input from my womxn track that had all of the effects. So let's actually go in a little bit more into detail for what happened. I had these effects activated. I'm going to go ahead and reset these so that I no longer hear these on the vocal. But instead, let's solo this Vox loop track over here, and let's listen to what's going on. Very cool. So I've managed to turn, in essence, my vocal sound into some kind of, now it's like a pad-ish that we get. And if I'm dealing with this on a clip-based sort of level, this is a really great opportunity for me to even do more performative things. For example, in the clip, I can start transposing this up and down to change the original pitch. We can even change the warp modes all here from Push. So it's a really interesting way of, I think, creating different sorts of textures from vocals that I love to do a lot. And maybe just a little bit of inspiration. But this looping technique is very cool. You can apply it to actually pretty much any sort of sound source. You can go ahead and do things with, other instruments, like say a bass, or you can record flute. I also play the flute, and this is something I do often as well. I record in audio and then I start tweaking different types of things. And that's pretty much like what I wanted to share as far as the looping section sort of goes. So these loops and my vocoder stuff are what I often think of as like the core of what I do whenever I'm working with Push. But let's maybe even take like a listen briefly to what the rough sketch of the track was. And again, this is one track that I'm only showing you a part of right now because it's still in development, but it started off with some loop inspired stuff that was going on. So let's go ahead and unsolo. I'm going to launch an empty scene again to stop all the clips. And let's get started a little bit over here with the instruments that I had. So I had some other instruments over here. I'm going to scooch up in live so that you can see where they are. I got some chords, I got some bass, I got some drums, and I was putting together this idea just with these, with the vocoder stuff and also with the vocal loops. So let's take a listen to what kinds of things we've got over here. Cool. So that's the idea. That's an approach that I use a lot of to kind of mix around different sorts of things using vocals and Push. And just generally, I do think that whenever I use Push, I honestly feel more inspired. Maybe it's just because I like pushing buttons or something, but it's totally valid, right? I mean, like if you really enjoy it, I think you should be able to capitalize on that. And so I'm going to switch over to my other camera, hopefully if it works and if it's not already overheated. Yeah, cool, I'm back. But thanks everyone for tuning in. I saw that we had a couple of questions. Those are the main things I wanted to share. So I'm doing vocoder stuff on Push, as well as some looping and resampling to that end. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. There's more to come, so please stay tuned. But yeah, I'd be happy to take any questions. Let me go ahead and scroll through a little bit or see.
Hey Claire, I think there was a pretty good question that came in from YouTube.
Cool.
From Paul. He says,
thanks, Thomas.
I think it was referring to maybe an effect rec you had, but he said, what is the rand button besides map on her rack?
Rand button
I
besides.
assume random. Is that a new Ableton Live feature maybe?
Yes, thank you, Thomas. An excellent question. And to answer the question, it is yes. It is a new feature. So let's even try this. Thank you, Thomas, for that question. What a great question. Let's go ahead and solo the vocal track again. Now I'm excited. We're gonna play the vocal clip back, but I'm gonna click on Rand from within Live, and let's check out what happens to all of the macro knobs. That'll be so fun. Okay, here we go.
Can't hear the pleas of your anguish.
Ooh. Yeah, so, ooh, gosh. Yeah, so every time I'm pressing Rand, it's kind of giving us a different variation of all of the macros. So yes, absolutely, it is random. This is something new that did come out with Live 11. So if you got Live 11, yay, that's great. Congratulations to everyone who got Live 11 already. It's always very fun, but yes, new feature. Something else new that you can do, I'll just speak about this very quickly since it is kind of related, is keeping snapshots. And this is, again, a really useful feature for live performance that I intend on using quite a lot, I think. If you click on this button over here, so if you check this out, Rand is on the top, right? But on the left-hand side of this rack, I now have another icon that's a tiny little camera. So if I click on the camera icon, I can save the states of these macros as quote-unquote presets. So they would almost function as little things that you can kind of switch between. Maybe if you have a dramatic section in the start of your piece moving to like another section, you'd be able to keep different variations of those. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and reset these to their defaults. Great. So these are all the defaults. Let's save this as a new snapshot. Take a new snapshot. Instead of variation 1, I'm going to rename this and I'm going to call it default. And now let's do a couple of random variations. Cool. So this is a random one. Let's make this a new one and let's call it random 1. And let's do one more and we'll call it random 2. Let's add that. Random 2. And now I'll be able to play the clip back. We'll start with the default and I'll switch between random 1, random 2, and then back to the default. So here we go.
Can't hear, can't hear, can't hear, can't hear. Don't try on.
This one's funny. There's like nothing going on. Yeah, that's cool.
Undo the pleas of your anguish.
That's very cool. But yeah, going through the different types of macro variations. Yeah, and taking snapshots. Very cool. Great. Thank you for that question. Let's see, did we get any other questions? Let me see. See, I'm trying to check out the chat. Oh yes, we did have a question. Let's see. Yeah, random effects are fun. A quick demo of the MPE. Yeah, I actually gave a quick demo of that the last time. I don't want to take too much more time up because we have other presenters as well. But I will say this, everyone. The 343 Labs team has been really, really passionate about new Live 11 material. So if you browse our YouTube channel, there is a specific video where we kind of talk about new features, and I do give you an overview of the MPE. Very briefly, I'll just show that if you go onto Push, there's an option for you to go into Setup and you can specifically choose poly pressure, so that's going to actually enable MPE. You can also set it up in your Midi settings. But otherwise, that's pretty much what I wanted to share. Thank you again for having me. This was really fun. I hope you took away a couple of interesting things, maybe, or if not just like useless fun things. I love useless fun things too. So yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone.
Awesome, Claire. Before you wrap up, I was wondering if you could just share a little bit about the handbook, which is something we meant to mention earlier.
Yes.
But while you're here, maybe you could share a bit about that. I'm going to put the link in the chats as
yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Thomas, for the reminder. How could we forget? We keep talking about that. But yeah, everyone, so kind of again, going with our Live 11 sort of thing, the 340 Labs team has prepared something that's called the Ableton Live Handbook. And you'll be able to watch videos for free from us on our YouTube channel and on the greater internet, wherever you view your stuff, that show you how to use specific features of Live to get started and up and running with music making. It's intended to kind of complement one of the courses that we run at our school that's called Producer First course. And that's a way that we can kind of, oh, sorry, I think, is someone unmuted? I'm not sure. Yep. Go. I'll call people out. I'm kind of calling people out. Christopher Riordan, can you mute yourself?
Oh, sorry. I thought you muted me earlier.
Thanks. Okay, now you're no longer disrupting, but that's all right. It's all good. We love sound. Yes. So 340 Labs, Ableton Live 11 Handbook. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll be able to keep up with us for that. So please do that, and you can ping the bell. Click on the little bell to be notified of whenever we have new videos out. And yeah, that will complement our Producer First Track in Live course, but you can also watch it independently. So we're very excited for it, especially since we announced it yesterday, which was the same date as the Live 11 launch. So thank you, Thomas, for the reminder.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Claire. Awesome presentation.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
I'm going to introduce our next guest tonight. We're really excited to have the one and only Cloud Chord tuning in from Texas. So I'll let him kind of take over. I think he's going to start out with a little guitar performance for us. But go ahead, Derek, take it away.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sounded good, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to do a little medley of some tunes, and then I'm going to make a beat from scratch and talk about my guitar techniques and all that kind of stuff. So here we go. All right, there you go. Cool. I'll get to the questions here in a second. I am going to flip over to a beat making file here. Let's see. Cool. So that was a little excerpt of my live set that includes all kinds of stuff. But what I really want to talk about today, and what I have most of my questions about, are how I get really dope guitar sounds in the box. I grew up playing in rock and roll bands, playing in bars at 2 in the morning and all that kind of stuff, lugging a 75-pound amp. And I feel like after years and years of doing that, I still have an awesome amp right down here. I have what's called the Dr. Z Maz 38. It's like a $3,000 amp and it sounds awesome, but it's just impractical for me to use it on everything and carry it to gigs outside of, driving. So let's look at my guitar sounds. This is the same stuff that I used in the demo tune there. So check this out. This is a new thing with Live 11 is now we have up to 16 macros. We can go all the way down to 1 that would look like that. And we can go all the way up to 16. And as Claire mentioned, we can do snapshots. And you can also do the randomizer here. And so these are a handful of presets that I made. So we got the clean sound. Oh, let me make sure I'm in. So that's my clean sound. Here's the next one. Then this one is like my tribute to U2. It's like the edge. That kind of thing. Let's see. This is my surf sound. Next one is Brian Eno. A little bit of ambient action for those of you that like to rock. And then last but not, Blue Children, which is another trippy sound. So what I want to walk you through in the time that I have today is my regular process in making beats. If you look at if you look me up, Cloud Chord, on any of the DSPs like Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, I'm pretty prolific. I release a lot of music, probably 40 to 50 songs a year. So part of it is just that I love what I do, but also that I kind of have a framework that I work within. So in the next 15 minutes, let me just show you how I get a beat going here. So let's say I spent 15 minutes out picking on my porch. I came up with a riff and I came in and recorded it and it sounded like this. Oop, let me fix the setting. It'll sound like this. Sounds cool. And then I added this drum clip to it, which sounds like this. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this guitar track, and let's call it chords high. And I'm going to do like something higher the next layer that would be a nice complement to it. So one of the cool things on Push is we have this fixed length, which is a game changer for somebody like me who needs their hands when I'm recording. So I got a fixed length of 4 bars, and I got it turned on. So when I hit this red button, it'll give me a 4 count, and then it will automatically record just a 4 measure clip and then go right into playback without me having to do anything. So check it out. 1, 2, here we go. Now I'm going to make a little melody here, and I'll go to a new sound. All right, so check this out. Here we go. Third guitar part. 2, I'm thinking funky, here we go. So I've got this little echo part, and I've got this melody. Let me change this to be melody. And now watch this. Now I'm going to duplicate that, and this is one of my favorite things to do. I used to have pedal boards where I had like an octave pedal in there, and one of the great things that you can do in Ableton Live is pitch the clip down an octave. So now it'll sound like this. What I'm going to do is turn off the reverb. I'm going to tuck it behind the other one. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, okay. So in a matter of minutes, I've gone from that little clip to a bunch of different parts, right? So maybe I'll even like color code these so it's like a little bit easier on the eyes, you know, this kind of thing. Then it's easier to see on my Push as well. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to record a bass. I'm going to go over here to my Push. For those of you that are new to Push, I set the scale mode right here, and I'm in E Dorian, which is a fancy word for the second mode of D. So it's fancy, actually it's a fancy word for just D major, okay? So I'm going to record. I'm still in fixed length, so I can do a 4-bar loop here. So here we go. 1, 2, here goes the bass. Cool, so now here's an interesting thing. Look at down here. This is a new thing to Live 11. We have MPE, which is Midi polyphonic expression. So Push has aftertouch. We see pressure. So listen to this. When we see these little toggles, we're going to see my filter change, and it sounds like a little bit of a wobble. Let's just isolate that and see how it sounds. Here we go. And that was just me pushing it down. Cool. So next step, so I got my bass, I got my guitar stuff. Now I'm going to do what's called audio to MIDI. So I've got this drum break, which is just audio, and I have this drum rack, which is these sounds right here. Oh, hang on. And this is the same kind of thing as my guitar rack where I have different snapshots for presets of sounds that I like or combinations of sounds. Well, what I can do is just literally drag this audio file onto my MIDI, and it creates a MIDI track. And now let's see how it sounds. Yeah, sounds good. So it matches up with the other one. Yeah, now I'm cooking. But, you know, this side stick, I don't know, I feel like it would be a little too much for my ears after time. So what I'm going to do is decrease the probability. So that is this chance area down here. So I've selected the percussion row, which is my side stick. And then over here, I'm going to lower all of the probabilities of all of them to like 50 or so %. And now watch, we're going to have them less often. Sometimes, way more tasteful. And I can also do that to my snares. How about I really definitely want my snares on 2 and 4 because this is boom bap music, but I can also shift, click maybe some of these accents that aren't on 2 and 4. And what I'll do is, let me just go through a handful of them so you can see this. And I will lower the probability of all of those as well. So then it's like this. See, we missed that one. So then we bring this back in. Great, so let's do one more thing here. I got this lo-fi piano that I designed. Got 3 snapshots. Here's the lo-fi classic. And then we got the AM radio. Then we got what I have called wander. Hear that little wandering high sound there? So look, I've got MPE in here too with this expression control MIDI effect. See aftertouch? It is mapped to the amount on, which one is it? I can't remember. Oh, I think it's mapped to the amount. There it is. Look, it's mapped to the amount on my chorus. So if I press a note and I hold it down and wiggle, you'll see the amount of my chorus change. Pretty cool. All right, so let me get rid of my guitar here just for a second. And I'm gonna do some piano. 1, 2, oh, hang on. I don't want it to go there. 1, 2, piano riffs, here we go. That's pretty fun. All right, so check this out. I've got a little 4-bar loop here, and it seems like maybe I don't have that much music. There's 2 things on my thought here. 1, I'm going to write a B section for you real quick, and then 2, I'm going to show you how we can make a 4-bar loop into a full arrangement here. So, here we go. So let's go. Let me stop all clips here. And then, so. That was my original riff, right? So now I'm gonna do what hip hop music producers call chopping the sample. So I have this convert button over here, right? Because this is an audio clip, you can see it right here and you can see it down here, okay? If I hit the convert button, now it gives me 4 options over here. It says convert to simpler, which is a sampler, a drum pad, convert it to harmony. Do we want it to harness the harmony? Do we want to harness the melody, or do we want to convert it to drums? I just wanted to go to simpler so it can be in a sampler and I can chop it up. So now let me unfold this here. And look, this is our clip, okay? And so now if I go to note mode, boom, I can play it like a sampler. I'm in what's called classic mode down here, which means like I can play it like a piano, except I need to warp it because notice this, the higher ones go faster than the lower ones. So if I warp it, now, that's kind of rad, right? But one of my favorite ways to use sampler is go to slice and I can chop it up like I talked about hip hop producers doing, chopping the sample. So I'm gonna go here to manual, and what I'm gonna do is go through. And every time I hit a pad, it creates a new pad or a new slice. Cool. Now I go to gate mode, so that means when I let go of the pad, those turn off. If I'm on trigger, it'll play all the way through to the next slice. there's benefits of using both. Sometimes if you're on trigger, it can get a little noisy because everything's ringing out. So here's my slices. Well, let me turn up my volume on my sampler. I like that one. Let me add a little bit of a fade on each one of these so that I don't get the clicking. There we go. Awesome. So now I'm going to go back here to my main, and I'm going to nudge a couple of these. This one I'm going to start a little bit later as well. Good. So a lot of times I like to try to just get like 3 to 4 slices. I want to get that little hit there. So I got nice. So let's put the drums back in. Chop in the sample. Here we go. Cool. So last thing I would do with this, let's say it's like morning time and I had like 45 minutes to an hour to make a beat. Looks like we have something in the chat while I'm talking about this. That break, brah. Yeah, that is, that's great. That's Kalen Ellis break. He's a great producer. So now what I would do, here's a little trick. Let me get my cameras over here so you can see my scenes, which are these rows. So I've got a 4 measure loop on the top, and then I've got this little break at the bottom. Let me just do a bass line real quick on this chop, and then we'll have 2 full sections that I can go to arrangement, and then we'll do some questions. All right, here we go. 1, 2, bass line for the chop. Cool, so I have 2 discrete sections, and now watch this. This is the trick. I see my students and collaborators do this all the time. We got a 4 measure loop, and they feel like they don't have enough music. But watch this. Let's duplicate the scene 4 times. So we've got 5 scenes here, right? Now it's the process of subtraction. So let's say our first scene is only going to have chords and percussion. Oh, and let me on this percussion remove the lows. Yeah, so it's truly percussion. Right? Now here's our second scene, which is going to be kick, snare, and bass come in. 1, 2, 3, go. And then in our third scene, and then I'll tell you what, I'm going to actually record this into arrangement while I do this. Let me get rid of my hair. 1, 2, here we go, arrangement. So you can see I'm recording on the other side so I can render this at the end. Second scene, here we go. Kick, snare, and bass, right? Third one, piano comes in, here we go. Next one. Very cool. So in a matter of 20 minutes, I got a minute and a half for music for you guys. Now I would go back to arrangement. I would select it all, put a loop bracket around it, make sure I got the whole thing. I'm a big fan of rendering at the end of the session so that you can listen to your projects outside of the DAW. So I would render it and I would put it in my lick of the day folder. And then another time I can listen to it outside of the DAW when I'm in a different mood. Okay, so I think that's about all I've got for you guys today. Do we have any particular questions? I could hear the song driving, right? If you dig what I'm doing, hang on. Boy, typing fingers. This is my YouTube channel. And I release pretty often, a couple tutorials a month. So check that out. I'll also put this link in the chat. So there you go. Any questions on YouTube or anything else? I think I'm good. I feel good. I hope that was insightful for y'all.
Yeah, awesome, Derek. That was really great. We had a couple of questions coming in on YouTube, some more like comments. Somebody had a question about, the guitar repeating and then descending. I'm not exactly sure what they're referring to.
In the first part. Yeah.
I
maybe
call
you could
that. Talk a bit on that.
Yeah. So in my user library, I keep track of all the effects that I make. That's the beautiful thing about the user library, right? You ever go to the dentist and get nitrous and then you hear weird sounds in your ears? Well, I call this the NO2 because to me it sounds like that. So check this out. I'm going to put it on a guitar. Cool. So it's an instance of beat repeat on a guitar channel. So just kind of thinking outside of the box here. Let's play it. So I'm basically using the beat repeat with pitch decay on. And I had that actually mapped to the soft step on the floor, which I forgot to mention. So all of my guitar related effects are on the floor via the soft step MIDI controller. So yeah, that is, I have a, what's it called? There's a video about this in my Ableton Live tutorials. So it's called like drop tuning delays or something like that. Which one is it? One of these down here. Digital die bombs. So check this one out. Cloud Core Digital Die Bombs, and there's actually a free download of the patch. And I go through, I actually do 4 different versions of the Digital Die Bomb, so you can check it out.
Awesome, man. Really, really cool. Thanks so much for sharing. I think that'll pretty much do it. Let's just see if we left anything. One person, Skate Alex on YouTube, said, I get stuck in 8-bar loops super
yes.
often. Any quick tips on, getting yourself out of that scenario?
Yeah, totally. If we had more time and I was going for like an hour, my next step on this, because this arrangement is still loops, right? I mean, I have an arrangement, but it's very much loops. Everything starts and ends right on the grid. I go for a concept, 2 things, fuzzy boundaries and randomization. Fuzzy boundaries is like over the bar line phrasing. So even if it's just simple as like a white noise swoosh, I might put it like starting right here. I would go like off the grid and introduce a sound at a random place and have it stop at a random place. So you get jazz musicians or live musicians call it over the bar line phrasing. So fuzzy boundaries, and then also randomization. In a fun way to do randomization in like MIDI is now with the chants. So that's a great way to just like, we could literally have a 1-bar drum loop go for 10 minutes. And if you do the chants right, it'll be a lot of different variations.
True. That's a really good tip there for if you're using Ableton 11, specifically the chants. It's a great way to get some variation. And I also like that, what would you call it? Overphrasing? Over
the bar line phrasing.
Over the bar line.
The bar line is like the loops,
Yep.
There's a book in there's a chapter in Dennis DeSantis's book. What is that? 74 creative strategies for making electronic music.
Yep.
And one of them, problems with advancing or arrangement, he calls it fuzzy boundaries of like basically this. I'm stuck in loops.
Yep.
So have sounds that start in the middle of a loop and end in the middle of another one.
Great. Yeah, awesome. And that's another great resource there, that book that he mentioned. So definitely check that out on the Ableton website. So thanks, Derek. I think we'll take kind of a breather here. Nick should be around. But I did kind of want to address our giveaways and that kind of stuff that we have going on. We haven't had too much action regarding that. Nick, are you around? You could kind of pop in if you feel, but
I'm here.
All right, cool. So basically I was thinking we could start off with, did you get the question I sent you, Nick?
Let me just double check. I don't want to mess this up like an envelope or like an Oscar situation.
No, if not, I could start off too. But we have a couple questions, and what I'm going to ask is that you're going to win a coupon. The way it's going to work is that we're going to ask the question like a trivia style, and then you have to write the answer in the chat. But you can't blur out the answer, and that goes for us as kind of hosts as well, because the key is going to be one winner from Zoom who writes in the chat here, who will identify, and then one winner from YouTube, the first in each chat. So when Nick's ready, he's going to ask the first question, which I have the answer for, I believe. Double check myself a couple of times on it, but if we get it wrong, we'll always give credit where it's due. And the idea is that for you guys out there on YouTube, and you guys here in Zoom, the first person to write the correct answer in the chat, which give you a little hint for this one, it's going to be a numerical number, like as an answer, you'll be receiving a 30% coupon, for the push, and then same for the person who answers on YouTube. Does that make sense, Nick? Does that sound like a?
It makes sense, and I have the question locked in, and I'm excited. I don't know the answer to this.
Okay. Do you think it's a good one?
It's a good one.
Okay, so I'll let you do it, and then everybody out there, get your fingers ready, drum roll, and I'll let you hit it.
But I mean, you do have the answer, right? I just want to, Thomas.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great. All right, that's great. I don't have the answer. I can't mess this up, y'all. So the question for this 30% coupon is going to be, how many buttons does the Push 2 have, not including encoders or touch strip? So again, I'm going to repeat that. How many buttons does the Push 2 have, not including encoders or touch strip? So you have to know what the encoders or touch strip is, to get that. All right, we're getting some answers in. I'm not going to blurt them out, but
pads are included. We got one answer here that looks like it's for the amount of pads. I'm not going to give any hints, but that's actually not correct.
Yeah, I think the wording was total buttons, not pads, right? The question was, how many buttons does the Push 2 have?
Yeah, just to clarify, including pads. So
including
buttons and pads. So we'll see. I see another person coming into YouTube. I haven't seen the correct answer out there yet, so keep the guesses coming. You can guess multiple times if you got it wrong. But yeah, the moment is here. First giveaway of the night. Okay.
All right, we're getting some more answers.
Somebody coming in closer.
I'm just gonna start counting mine right here.
Yeah, we'll get a little live verification.
Uh-oh, I think we're getting close.
I see one that's really close, and we'll have to verify it. We might have our winner here on Zoom. YouTube's still struggling a little bit. I see a 66, which is 2 more than some of the previous guesses. You're getting there. You're heading in the right direction, but you got a little ways. All right, let's see. Any other guesses coming in?
I like Peter. Can I just shout out Peter, who's assisting everyone with the, he's holding it up. All right. And I think you got the plastic on there too. That's awesome.
It's nice. Yeah. For somebody with the push there to kind of, give you everybody else a shot. Yeah, are people missing it in the chat? Has anybody seen it? Who knows? Because if you have it, the easiest way to do it is just count the buttons, and then we all know, or you should, the grid of pads. Were you able to count, Nick?
The pads? No, I'm not counting. I have not counted.
Okay. So
I was referring to an answer that was going to be handed to me in an envelope. Where's my envelope? This is not what I agreed to.
I sent what my answer was to you.
Yeah, 69. Okay.
All right, this is going
I was not
a little different than expected, but we'll give it another minute or two, and then I'll let you hop in, and we could always do another one. But I haven't actually seen my answer yet. I saw one that was really close, though. So
well, I have what you sent me. I haven't seen anyone say that.
Yeah. Let me just verify that really quick. I did check it a couple of times, though. Okay.
YouTube's definitely getting more, I think, pads. I mean, it's definitely more. All right. There's a shit ton of buttons on this. There's definitely more than 100 at least.
Okay.
Right?
There's a hint.
Like, there's the. Here, I'm gonna. Well, I guess Thomas, your screen's pinned. I think I could share my push too. I mean, I'll just count. No, I mean, my 20, 40 minutes is gonna be counting each button of the push.
All right. Yeah, no, we'll have to tone it down soon. I think we're going to go for an easier question next time through, and then maybe we'll get multiple people in here, as a winner for the next one.
All right.
That's so close.
We're getting, sandwich between your number.
All right. I think I'm going to call it there for now.
All right. Thomas is calling it.
And so we'll let Nick head into it, but look out for more details on. We've got a lot more to give away in terms of the discounts. So it's funny that somebody on YouTube says we don't have pushes. That's true. I thought of that myself. I was like, oh, this is going to be easy for anybody with it. All right, but I'll let you dive into your presentation, Nick.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll stay tuned. That's a cliffhanger if I ever, saw one. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I just want to shout out first off Claire and Derek. Those were amazing and inspiring presentations and performances. It's so awesome to see how this, controller / instrument, works its way into all of our kind of musical journeys. And it's very unique for everyone. I've seen so many people present on the push and it's different. So hopefully you'll gain some more insights on this one. I'm going to be showing y'all, this is going to be highly interactive. So I hope if you do have a push, can you sound off in the Zoom or YouTube chat? This is highly interactive. If you do have a push, I'm going to be dropping this project here. And if you don't have a push, that's fine. Download the project. There's some samples in there from Splice. You could use a Novation Launchpad or another controller. And if you don't have a push, y'all, the instrument that I played before the push, the desk. So you can just play on your desk. I think we all maybe were in middle school playing on the desk, pencils, stuff like that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit of my workflow, and then we're going to walk through 3 genres of beats, kind of leveled up, like very basic, medium level, then higher level. Maybe it's not higher level for anyone here, but and we're going to try to do it together. I'm going to show you how I approach my finger drumming technique. And so let me just go ahead, start by switching my camera and just confirm. I think everyone should be able to see this. So here's my setup, and this is just gonna be a little hip hop kind of demonstration. Actually, can everyone hear that? I just want, before I start off in the chat. Yes. All right. Cool. Awesome. Cool. And please, if you didn't get the link or get the project, have any issues with the samples, please sound off in the chat as well. Waiting for push 3. All right. Me too. Yeah. All right, cool. So that's just like a little, very short demonstration of like my technique. And the thing I think that's unique about my technique is I've seen most finger drumming, split up between 2 hands, like the beat part. So here's my, like, if y'all can see my kick is red. This here is my snare and my hi-hats. This is like kind of the color coding I really like using. I'm very visual. I see a lot of this, and this is nice. Like, this is a good technique for maybe, but I don't think it's actually there's a more optimal technique that's actually not that much harder. And this is why I really want to explain to you throughout this kind of videos, this what I call split hand technique. And this is from, my experience as a, hand percussionist. I studied percussion at college, and I was a music education major. And I studied a lot of like frame drumming and different types of hand percussion. And I just, realized that it translates nicely to the push and other electronic controllers. So, and I'm saying, so what, do you get the instrument layer with a simpler? Yeah, there's some instrument layers, there's some combination there, and I'm going to go over this. I'm not going to walk through this one. It's a little more complex. We're going to go through the basic one next. But really quickly, the hand technique I want to show you. Everyone put up your hand, and everyone can do this on your desk. Everyone can do this on a controller or your lap or anything like this. And if you're right hand, I would say start with your right hand, left hand dominant, maybe with your left hand. But it's involving like doing the Spock sign. Is this the Spock? Actually, no, this is the Spock sign. So it's like one off the Spock sign. Let's just say that. That's probably not a great descriptor, but look at my hand. So like if you just hold your hand up like this, this is what the split hand technique is. It's because we can rotate our hand pretty easily there. So what I want you to do is like, if I, instead of doing the beat like this, which is like, I'm using two hands, right? This left and right. This is nice though. I can just then kind of put my hand down here. Notice my ring fingers on the hi-hat, my snare drums, my middle finger, and my index fingers. Very natural kind of layout. And especially with the push finger, like size pad, it's really natural. And I'm just going to kind of do this pattern 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can kind of see, sorry, there's a little double. My pads are a little like wonky on the bottom here. They've been hit maybe too hard too many times. So that way, I can do like other things with my other hand and, trigger other pads. I do like a little gimmicky thing where I play the keyboard. But it's a nice technique. So this is what we're going to walk through. And if you have the project open, which I hope some of you might have the project open and follow along, what I recommend is maybe take your Ableton output and like put it on your built-in like speakers, or just kind of like separate it. If you can maybe like take your headphone off so you can kind of hear, but really you want to hear my audio and just kind of maybe strike the pads with me. So we're going to go to this track, this second track here. So if you are following along, let's go ahead, take this track, and we're going to look at the very bottom pads. And again, I described this, my index fingers on this red pad, the kick, my middle fingers on the snare drum here, and my ring finger is on the hi-hat, my pinky, open hi-hat. So let's just break down this technique really simply. Take your ring finger and say, you're just going to count to 4. It's really that simple. I think if you can count to 4, you can play the drums. That's my honest philosophy. Might not be the best drummer, but you can kind of get along. So we're gonna just kind of count, but we're gonna subdivide it. That's the trick. We're gonna say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're gonna go 1 and 2 and. So just count that out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And then what we're gonna do is, since we're already kind of using our wrist motion, we're just going to drop the middle finger on the 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just try that. And then what we're going to do, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now we're going to try to put our kick. This is the hard part. This is like doing one thing is pretty easy. Doing two things pretty easy. I think like adding that third thing is where the brain starts to get a little like mental like, oh, this hurts. And then that's what makes fun though. I think I like people who like multitasking and doing all that. We're kind of like masochistics to our brain, maybe, I don't know. So now we're going to add that third layer. So this is where it might be harder for some of us, but we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And now if you're having trouble, this is why I want to reiterate. There's a good way to break down these techniques. Just make it simpler. And how do we do that? We just break down maybe 2 elements at a time. So if you're having trouble, just go 1 and 2 and. So just do the kick and the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then, oh, that's pretty easy. What about 1 and 2 and 3? Well, that's actually could be the hardest thing because there's no time. And if you don't have like steady time or a metronome, that could be pretty hard. But just count out loud. Try to do it consistently. 1 and 2 and. So now that we have this kind of like established drum beat down here, let's try to maybe take our left hand and we're gonna put it on this pad up here. And this is very simple. Like this could be a lot of pads. This is just one little melody loop. So I'm gonna hit it. Here. You can see in the push here, there's a waveform. And if you're looking at this set, I do have a few scenes laid out, and they just have a tempo. So just make sure you've triggered the first scene. You can always hit the session, and this is the scene launch. So you're going to launch that. Actually, I want to do the second scene now. So make sure we're on the second scene here. Boom, right here. Go back to note mode. And if you're non-familiar, you have to hit layout to get the 64 pads on the push. That allows you to use 64 pads in the drum rack. So now that we have this pattern here, we're gonna try 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Can you hear the pattern? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now that's really basic, but having that I sped up a little bit there, but having that left hand free allows you to do a lot of different things. And then we're just going to try to incorporate this open hat. So this is level 1. This is like kind of like the base level. Ready? So that's and a little variation we could do. Maybe a little double bumps on the kicks. 1 and 2, a 3 and 4. And if you're thinking the method of counting middle school band, a 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Cool. So that is very basic level. If anyone's following along, I would be interested to see how that felt. If you even just like tapping on the desk, you're just tapping on that kind of 1 and 2 and 3 with your hands. We're gonna go to the next level, which I think is a little more fun. This is gonna be like a house beat, and we're gonna do. I'm just gonna show you the project here, or the drum rack. These are all inside drum racks, actually. So, little. I need to hit the session there. Sorry.
Working harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, all than ever, hour after hour, working.
Now this is where I was like, is it never over? Because no, it's a bad joke. So it is over. So we're gonna try to skip the over. So this is
working harder, make it better, do
we're just gonna count up.
Makes us stronger, all than ever, hour after hour, working over, working harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, all than ever, hour after hour, working over, do it.
So that was a little fun, a little tribute to Daft Punk here. We've got macros up here on the top, and I'm going to explain the walkthrough of this setup. Shift playhead on this. On the push is stop. So yeah, this is a really simple. Just take the acapella and chop it. We've seen those tutorials. Chop it to the beat, quarter note, slice to MIDI, quarter note. So we've got this, and this is in the project, but you can find this on YouTube. And we're just counting up here. 1, 2. Like again, I was saying 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And you're just using your fingers right across. 3, 4. 1, 2. Skip. 1, 2. Now this is where I thought this was a little fun. The house beat. The house beat on the right hand is going to be like this. It's going to be now. We all know the house beat in our head. Let's just try it with the kick and the clap. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's pretty easy. I think we can do that. And what we would want to do is take the upbeat, like open hat, and that's the boots and cats beat. That's probably the hard part. But once you lock this is really fun for finger drumming because you can do a lot of different things in your left hand, like you're about to see, and just keep the house beat going. And it's just a really fun kind of vibe. So what we're going to do is 1 and I'm going to do it slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and really simple. Three fingers. So again, these 3 fingers, right? Boom. These 3 fingers. All right. Oh, camera. This is actually really hard to see. Sorry. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Now we'll speed it up a little. Speed it up with me. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So now, if you can just like really just sit there, maybe put on a TV show, put an episode of like True Detective, something like that. You know, get this in your muscle memory, and then you can really do the quarter notes. This should be really easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like doing doubles might be harder, but you can do like little triple notes, 16 notes. But let's try doing this pattern out. We're gonna just do this from the second part of the quadrant here, this top half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So we're thinking the left hand now. We're leading with our left hand. 1, 2, skip it. Now what we're gonna try to do is do open hat. This is actually pretty hard. So we're gonna go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and. Doesn't sound good slow because the samples are warped. But let's try that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and skip that over. So it is over, right? So what we're gonna now try to do that a little faster. Hour after 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then that's kind of like the first part of that beat, and then just essentially just switching over to this quadrant here, this lower right hand quadrant. And what I've set up is these 4 bass notes, really easy. These are all sitting in simpler. If you can probably sorry, let me just collapse this. Sorry. Yeah, these are all set up in simpler and just kind of going up the scale. 7, 6, 1, 3. A little drone here, just like a drone texture that's like kind of just fills up space, which is nice. Because if you haven't seen, like, I'm not using a lot of loops or kind of like I'm trying to do a lot of one shots. It's kind of nice part of the challenge as a kind of finger drummer. So what we have here is you just hit all these 2 with your left hand, and then the boots and cats beat that we kind of worked on. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and with the vocal right here. Cool. So that was a little house demo, and that's the boots and cats beat demonstrated with my split hand technique. Again, this is all revolving around, y'all, kind of like the concept of being able to do the drum pattern with one right hand and then freeing up your left hand to do other melodic ideas. So now we're still getting some push guesses. I think we'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, what is a button and what is the truth in 2021? I don't even know. So I don't know what a button is. So what we're going to do is now the last beat really quickly before we get to the sweepstakes is a trap beat. So we're just going to go ahead to this third track here, Splice Play Along. So this is the third track. And yeah, so this is a little different. This is a setup, and I'm just going to make sure I go to my session here and cue the third scene. So it's just going to bump up my tempo. Let me just double check to, sorry, but fourth scene. Bump up our tempo to 165. So that, I'm going to turn the metronome off as well. That top right pad you can see is kind of the main melody here. I've got the 808s in red. And the nice thing about using this pad technique is also you can kind of just eliminate, if you're doing this, I'm just transposing the sample, in simpler and just getting it to the scale notes that match the chord. And that way I, won't hit any wrong notes. It's more about the timing. So then we can go. Cool. So to break that pattern down. It's really simple. On the right hand, let's just do the right hand. It's actually not that hard. We're gonna do 1 and 2 and 3. It's faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So just now the clap is on 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it kind of doesn't feel like a broken beat. So we need to maybe just go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So this is if you can just nail this beat right here, this will set you up a long way. So this is 1 and 2 and 3. Where are the kicks hitting? Let's think about it. 1 and then 2 of the next measure. So let's just listen to it. It's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And I got that open hat, and you can just throw that in there where it feels appropriate. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yes, I could use a repeat note. Definitely, I could use repeat note. I sometimes just throw in a little like hat roll, but yes, repeat note. Repeat is really great. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So then we'll just the 808 with our kind of index finger. It's a little harder to talk with this one. So 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then. Stop time is easy in the beat. You just have to stop playing. So yeah, that is kind of an essence of the kind of 3 levels of beats. I know I didn't want to go too much over time, and I know we're actually really, really kind of dying to know about how many buttons are on this push too. And so I'm gonna actually wrap it here and ask if there are any questions on the finger drumming technique or the Ableton set. I just want to make sure if anyone downloaded Ableton set, just making sure it worked. If anyone had any issues, just hit me up. So
cool. Thanks, Nick, so much. That was dope.
Awesome.
I was really grooving out to that last beat, especially there.
Thanks, Thomas.
In regards to the giveaway, we'll get to that in just a moment. I had a personal question just about the set you kind of prepared and your workflow when presenting kind of these style performances. Could you just talk a little bit about what goes into putting together the set and like what types of samples you're looking for? And also, it always seems like your mix is really kind of there and nice. And is that kind of things you pay attention to, or?
Yeah,
I'm curious about that.
I think that the mixing, I will say, is the hardest thing, because like think about it, you're mixing everything in a drum rack. Well, that's what I'm doing like for this live thing, and it's like trying to make sure it sounds good when you're doing it live. It's it's a challenge. So there's side chaining, definitely side chaining, and going on within the drum rack. Which, if you're not familiar, I can just wait really quickly. Just go to OBS here. Yeah, if you're not familiar, you can actually do that in the drum rack down here on the left. If we just go to the ins and outs and sends and returns. Actually, no, sorry. That's a return group of, side chaining is actually just as is compressor. And, if I've got these 808s, they're side chained to my kick here. You can see that with a quick attack time release, just an aggressive thing. And then as far as setting it, laying it out, I really like starting with, an inspirational loop, like, for all of these, like maybe it's like this loop just speeds up the process.
So nice. I love this one.
Yeah, exactly. And these are from Plug Splice. I also love playing keyboard, and I'll record loops that way. But when I'm like in this mode of like trying to chop out on finger drums and stuff, like it's nice to have just like a jump start. And I think saving presets, which Cloudcore, Derek touched upon, and like is very important. I would just stress that to everyone: is saving presets like of your drum racks of everything is very important as you build, because the more time you go on, the more valuable they get. They actually gain value, right, over time. So that's
for sure. Cool, really good. And then I don't think there's too many crazy questions that came in.
Awesome.
I think people were like in awe of the whole performance that you had going.
Great. I'm dying to know the buttons.
All right, so the buttons, let's get to it. So just to clarify, what I was referring to specifically, this is the most clear I can be, is any button you can hit that serves a function individually. So, you know, there's a couple groups of buttons on there, but if you hit it, it has its own word, and you hit it and it serves a function, that's considered its own button. So my count I got was 129, and I'm going to give it in Zoom here to Billboard Shah, who came in at 128 pretty early for being the closest. So we're going to give the first discount to Billboard Shah here.
Congrats,
in Zoom.
Billboard Shah.
So please just direct message me your email address so we have it on record. And my count was 129, just so everybody knows. I tried to verify it a few times. There's not too much specific info on that online, actually. I was surprised to see. But we'll give it to Billboard for that one. YouTube was kind of all over the place, so we're going to kind of hold off on there. But I do have a couple other quick questions we can do for the remaining ones. So this next one, we're going to go real easy, Nick. And we are going to kind of give them a gimme. Like, you can't get this one wrong because it's true or false. So it's one of two answers. First person who says it in the chat, no cheating, because we'll be looking out. But the question is going to be, do you think we're ready yet? Or do we need to build up any more anticipation?
No, I think we should go because this is a speed thing. Let's go.
All right.
Yeah.
So first person to say the correct answer, remember, true or false. I'm not looking for any yes or no's or anything crazy. To the next question I'm about to recite, which is specific to the Ableton Push, is going to win. And this goes for both on YouTube and on Zoom. Okay, ready? This was also given to me by Claire herself before she left. It's very simple, but it's a great one. Can you mute and unmute tracks from the push hardware in Ableton? So it's true or false. Can you mute and unmute tracks from the push hardware in Ableton?
Damn. We got the Zoom. YouTube there's a little latency.
Okay, Bob's here. It looks like on first on Zoom. Do you see that?
Yep.
Can I verify?
I verify that, and it's caps.
Okay, we're looking. It might come in a little late. All right, so Mystic Moth.
Moth
on YouTube.
Boom.
All right, so the answer is true. Very straightforward. I actually was stunned, kind of tricked up by it. If it was a trick question, I wasn't sure. It's a very basic question, obviously. All right, so congratulations to Bob. Please DM me your email address here on Zoom. And Mystic Moth, I'm going to direct message you on YouTube, but feel free to direct message us your email as well. And congratulations. And then for the final one, while I have you here, sorry for keeping anybody too long, because what we're going to do is we've given away one to Billboard Shah, and now one each to Zoom and YouTube, leaving us with two more for our final question. Are you ready, Nick? This is a classic 343 Labs.
Oh, I love it. I think I know the question.
Yeah, and Nick is probably familiar. Nick actually has taught with us in the past, which is really awesome. He's working with Splice on the regular basis, which is another, great partner of the company. So, he might know this lingo, but I'm going to go for the classic, especially if you're a student out there. You should know this. Represent the school. What is the significance of 343 in the name 343 Labs of the music school? First person to answer on Zoom gets 30% off push. First person to answer on YouTube, 30% off push. And congratulations to all the winners who, we just announced. We're flying through. This is so exciting because we do the YouTube streams and we give out on average one item per week. So this is this is a hot stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So I'm looking for.
I think we might have got a winner in Zoom.
Okay. Yep. Maya. Congrats, Maya, who is another student of ours. So great for knowing that. She must have, gotten that class. Congrats, Maya, a winner. I don't know if she's won, but she comes to a lot of the streams as well. So that's exciting. And let's see here. Do we have an answer on YouTube? We'll leave it over for another minute too. I know they're delayed.
There's a little delay.
I don't know if I said it.
We're still getting true and yes.
Yeah, true, and yes. All right, so just to read it on YouTube.
I mean, I don't think you can stack up two. You can't get 60% off.
You can't stack. So I'm going to call it there. We didn't really specify too many clear rules, but I'm going to say that you can't win twice. So we're going to have to pull an audible. Is there anything you can give us, Nick? Any sort of question? Or I could try to pull something up quick. How about this one? Because I can look this up. Ready? I got one. Are you ready? All right. I think this is just like a fair one. All right. For everybody. It's going to be like get your fingers ready on Google. All right. Ready? What is the original release date of Ableton Live version 1.0? That's going to be the final question. And the first person to answer either on Zoom or on YouTube is going to win the final coupon. And obviously, get that Google going. I actually have to look it up myself.
And we're just looking for a year or a specific date?
I'm looking for a full date if you guys have it. I see a year. Let's see if we got anybody coming in. Oh, I see 2 dates in Zoom. So that's going to, I think we're going to be pretty close there. Let me just do a quick. Oh God, it's going to be a tough one to verify.
Looking, yeah. This is we've narrowed it down.
This is suspenseful. All right, so Bob came in with 2001 first year, so we'll put that out there. But Bob already won, so but that was a direct message. So fair enough, Bob. Randall came in pretty hot here on
Yep.
Zoom. I mean,
Yeah, let's just. I think.
Unfortunately, with YouTube, the delay, you guys kind of left for this last one maybe out when we did it combined, but I think I'm going to go for the quick response to Rondell, and we'll give it to you, man. Because I don't even know where you got the October date from, but it seems like there's some other people, pulling that up. So we'll give it to you for that. So
awesome.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
And yeah, thank you guys. And thanks, Nick, for sticking around for this section as well, because, it was definitely exciting. But yeah, just to wrap things up really quick, we are really excited to have you guys all here, for the event, and just want to talk about the school a bit before I let everybody go. We are going to be teaching some classes coming up in Ableton. To be specific, Ableton beginner course starting next week on Tuesday. I believe that's March 2nd, and it's going to be meeting 7:15 to 9 on Tuesday and Thursday nights. And then we also have an intermediate course starting in a couple weeks, which is really exciting. Maya's asking about a push class. The closest thing you'll get to that from us right now is probably either tonight or Claire's dolltr show on Mondays, which is part of 343 TV. And if you're on YouTube, you probably already are aware of it. But if you're just here on Zoom checking us out, we're streaming every day on YouTube, similar to today, educational content, but a little more specific to, a variety of different topics within the music production umbrella. But that being said, check out everything we have going on at 343labs.com for our online and New York City operations. And then for Berlin, our newer physical location, you just head to 343labs.de. But that being said, congratulations to everybody who won a push discount tonight, and a major shout out to Ableton for hooking us up with those. Matt West specifically, always doing leaps and bounds for the school. But that'll wrap us up for tonight. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for some 343 TV with Max Wild. Otherwise, we'll hope to see you in some classes